Welcome to the mix. In this episode, we're going to be making a Brussels sprouts with garlic aioli sauce. What is an aioli?
An aioli sauce, in my understanding, which I'm not a chef, so I could be wrong, is like a mayonnaise-based sauce with added in garlic. We're gonna add in some extra lime. So it's a cream-based sauce that's really good for dipping. There's also bacon in this ingredient, or in this recipe.
Bacon!
So bacon and Brussels sprouts, what can go wrong?
The dog's coming out of me. Bacon!
It's bacon!
Hey, one thing I do want to mention, you said that you're not a chef. You're fired. No, I'm just kidding. I thought you were a chef. No, the big thing is neither of us are like fancy cooks. And the mix is a show not about, being all fancy, like Food Network. No. This is about making healthy food, holistic, nutritious, healthy food, fast, fun, and easy. Yeah. So that you can fit it into your lifestyle and still, make that permanent lifestyle change without making it such a chore. So I think that's a big distinction because you see a lot of people making food, but maybe stuff that the ingredients they use is not good for people with autoimmune disease or there's certain food allergies. So everything that we make on the mix are gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, and sometimes we even go a step further for people with SIBO or specific situations to cut out certain ingredients. So these are all safe for almost everybody. Yeah. And it's all delicious. They're all delicious.
I've also tried to keep kitchen gadgets to a minimum too. I know that I don't have the cabinet space for all the kitchen gadgets that I want, but really when you have to use 6 different tools to make a meal, it's 6 times the dishes, it's 6 times the cleanup. So I also want you guys to know, we're trying to do this with very limited tools so that you guys don't have to go out and buy a ton. We don't have to buy a ton. This is all stuff I want to make sure that you have in your house, easily accessible. For this recipe, we are going to be using about 1 pound of Brussels sprouts. They will be roasted in coconut oil. We're going to use some sea salt, some black pepper. I'm going to do a homemade mayo for my aioli sauce because I do prefer homemade, but you could use the Sir Kensingtons we've talked about. There's also a brand called Primal Kitchen that will do a clean mayo you could use as well. So on top of the mayonnaise, you're also going to need some lemon juice, about 2 cloves of garlic, bacon. The recipe calls for 2 strips of bacon. I would probably use more. And we're also going to be using some thyme. Thyme.
Like how much thyme?
Just a little bit of thyme, just like a teaspoon of thyme.
A teaspoon? Whoa. So this What are we going to do next?
So what we are going to do next, we have our bowl of Brussels sprouts. We're just going to put some coconut oil in there. I don't measure if you haven't caught on to that yet. So we're going to do enough to coat your Brussels sprouts. You don't want them drenched.
Coated.
Coated. We'll start there. Toss some.
I remember when I used to wash my hair, it's kind of like that.
Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. All right, once they are coated, we'll transfer them to a baking sheet. I usually like to roast my Brussels sprouts at about 385. It cuts down the time you have to have them in there, but it doesn't char them too much. So about 385, about 12 minutes to start. Once they're on my baking sheet, I'll add salt to them and then stick them in the oven.
Now our Brussels sprouts are in the oven, we can start to make our aioli sauce. It makes me feel like it's like an Italian greeting.
Aioli.
Aioli!
All right, so we are gonna start with the homemade mayonnaise that we made. If you bought your own, that's kind of the base you'd start off with. I'm gonna make it all in this mason jar so that I can just put a lid on when I'm done and stick it in the fridge, and I have very minimal dishes to wash because I don't like doing dishes.
And we can use it for later.
And you can use it for later. So we have your mayonnaise base. We're gonna use 2 cloves of garlic. We also don't like mincing our own garlic, so we bought our own, which will end up being, I would say, maybe 2 teaspoons of garlic. We're gonna do 2 teaspoons of lemon juice, and then we're crumbling in 3 strips of our bacon.
Bacon.
Bacon and mayo. We have our Brussels sprouts out of the oven. It ended up taking them about 14 minutes. If you look at them, your actual Brussels sprouts are still gonna be mainly green. I always judge it by the leaves that fall off, and they kind of get charred up and crispy.
Like this.
They're the best part. These are what my kids fight over. Your Brussels sprout chips. So
you hear the crunchiness?
Yeah.
Just here's the mic. Yeah. That's crunchy. And it's so delicious. Now this Brussels sprouts, veggies and oil combine really well. So always, use a lot of fat with your vegetables. Brussels sprouts especially goes great with olive oil. In this case, we use coconut oil. It's delicious as well. It just soaks up the oil, get that higher healthy fat content.
Yes.
And it's got a little roasted flavor, the charred part. Awesome.
It's so good. Now speaking of more fat content, we're gonna put our aioli sauce on here. For a party situation, you could totally do the Brussels sprouts and then your aioli on the side if people want to dip, maybe with like a toothpick. For us here, because we'll probably turn the cameras off and eat the entire plate, we're just gonna drizzle it right on top.
Just drizzle it.
All right, Dr. Kong.
All right, now we got this thing dipped with this aioli sauce. Let's give it a shot.
They're probably gonna be hot.
So now it's not just Brussels sprouts. I mean, by itself, it was already great.
That smoky bacon flavor though.
Now we have some bacon in there, a little tangy from the homemade mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise.